Hello everyone and welcome back. So in this video we're going to play around with email using this React email. So this is basically the next generation of writing emails. When you run this npx create email at lettuce on your terminal, basically it should be create a new project called this one right here. So we have some example template email in here. If I click that, as you can see the Notion magic link, we have this one right here. It's look pretty nice, the UI and everything nicely. Here we have the code, the React code, the HTML, plain text. As you can see on React in here, the styling is using vanilla CSS, but of course you always can write a Tailwind CSS in here. And of course the send email in here also works. It's basically powered by Resend. After we explore all this React email project, we're going to move to the Next.js application. As you can see in here, I can type my name and then email, right? And this basically will send the example email to my Gmail inbox. So we're going to learn all of that in this video. So let's get started. All right, so what we have to do first is let's go to the docs right here and let's see what we have in here. And as you can see, basically we can automatic setup in here. It is basically add React email to any JavaScript or TypeScript project in minute using this command right here. So I'm gonna copy that and go to my terminal and then paste that. It should be running npx create -email at lettuce. This basically will create a project called React email starter. As you can see here, this is the name of the folder, and we can cd to that folder and then open that into the Visual Studio Code. Alright, so as you can see, we have this email folder and that's some TypeScript component in here, a React component, and we also have package.json file and etc. So let's try to install all the package npm install. This basically will install all the dependency right here. Alright, it's done. So now we can run npm run dev. So it's basically will open localhost 3000, and as you can see we have some template in here, Notion magic link and etc. Right, so let's take a look on the code. I'm going to open it. As you can see, we have the email folder, and inside that we have some React component, Notion magic link and etc. So let's open the first invite user in here and let's take a look. Here, as you can see, we have some component that import from the React email / component. We have like a HTML and body and column and container, etc. So we have the interface in here, and let's take a look. This is the component, first invite user email, right? So in here, basically, let's take a look. This return, we first return the HTML. It's just like the normal HTML tag. We have HTML and the head. And because this example is using Tailwind, as you can see, it should be wrapping inside a Tailwind component tag. Tailwind should be come from the React email itself. And as you can see, the Tailwind is just wrapping the body, just same like other component. As you can see in here, for example, Notion magic link is not using Tailwind, but the idea is same. As you can see, we have the HTML and head and body, right? The difference is just the body is wrapping inside the Tailwind if you want to use Tailwind CSS. This one right here. So inside the body, you can put the class name and any class Tailwind CSS you want, the preview and etc. The container, right? The section, we have some section in here, and this is basically the way you render image. Pretty simple. And we have a heading right here, the tags and etc. The link, right? So let's take a look the result of the first invite user, this one right here. So anyway, I think it's really easy to understand, right, how to create these tags and etc. Just take a look on the example. But one thing that we should see is how to create column. As you can see, like this column right here, we have 3 column in the image, the icon here, and another image. So let's take a look on the code. And as you can see, this is the column. As you can see, we have the section and we have row. So inside the row, we have 3 column. This column in here, it should be have aligned to right. We have this image, and then we have the column aligned to center. We have this image. This is basically the row, right? First a row, and we have the left column, and just put the image. Just that's it. Another thing is just really similar. We have the section and button component. We have the tags, link, right? This is really simple basically. We have HR here. So now let's take a look, is this send button in here works or not? So let's put my email, right? I'm gonna put my Gmail in here and click send. So let's see. Down here, we have email sent, check your inbox. So let's see on my inbox in here. So as you can see, the email is sending to my inbox on Gmail, but some image is not rendered. The problem is because on this code in here, the image is basically come from the static file in here, as you can see, right? So of course, we always need to the static file right here. Where is that? This one right here, it should become from any url.live. So anyway, I'm gonna create the .env file and then paste this email base URL, or I think I'm gonna change the name to Versal URL is also fine. Here we go. So I'm going to just console log the process.env.versal URL in here, just try to make sure we have that value. But as you can see, we have the undefined in here. I'm not sure why we get an undefined. So let's take a look in here. If I refresh it and try to open image in new tab, as you can see, it still comes from the localhost 3000. I'm not sure why this is not working. If you guys know how to put the environment variable on this React email, just let me know on the comment section below. But to fix that, for now, I'm gonna use the simple way, which is on the package.json file. So in here on the script dev, I'm gonna put this Versal URL set equals to demo.react.email. Just that's it. So now let's see this console log right here. I hope this is have a value. And as you can see, we have this demo react.url. That means this value is works. So now let's go back in here and I'm going to open that on image on new tab. And as you can see, it should become from this URL. It's great. So now what we have to do is trying to send that again, put my email here and click send, and hopefully it works. Here we go. So let's take a look on my email. And as you can see, finally, all the image is just rendered because the image is come from the live URL. And here we go. That's for the React email. And of course, if you go back in here, you can see all the like log things in here. If you click that, we have the linter in here, the accessibility, missing the alt on this URL here, right? You always can adding that. The compatibility, the border radius is not support in Outlook. You can just check that out. On the spam, we have everything is fine, and the resend in here. So you can always check that out. So that's it for the React email. So let's move to the Next.js application. All right, so let's first generate the brand new Next.js application. I'm gonna call that Next.js email a demo. And I'm going to use the recommended default, which is it should be using Tailwind CSS and TypeScript and etc. Great. So now we can cd to that folder and open that in Visual Studio Code. So first what we have to do is just create a really simple UI on the page, app and then page.tsx. Here I'm going to remove all the div in here and just paste this really simple styling, right? Just really simple. And in here, basically, I'm going to change the page.tsx in here to the client component. You don't have to follow me because this is just tutorial, guys. So I'm going to make it simple as possible. But normally you have to create the use client on another component, right? So here I'm going to create the handle submit function. So I'm going to putting that on the async function and put the name and just render empty for now. It's fine. And as you can see in here, we have the loading state, and here I'm going to create that state. So just put the name, which is loading, and set loading. Let's import the use state. So the reason I changed the component to the client is because I'm using use state in here. So this should be a Boolean, and by default, it should be false. All right, this is the UI, really simple. Let's go back in here, and I'm going to grab the event. This basically React form event, and I'm gonna put the HTML form element. Here we go. So what I'm going to do in this function is first I'm going to prevent the default submitted. When we're using this one, it's basically will prevent the loading after we submit the form, and then set the loading to true. And in here, I create variable called form data and run the new form data e.current target. And in here, basically, we can get the value of the input name and input email. So the way we're getting that is pretty simple. Here, I'm going to say console log, for example, from data dot get, right? This is the function, and we can specify this should be get and specify the name of the input. In this case, I'm going to say name, for example, and we can just console log the another thing, which is the name email right here. So let's try to just console log that. So here I'm going to say my name and my email. So let's try to hit enter, send mail. And as you can see here on the, oh yeah, because it is running on the browser on the client side, so we can see that on the console. This one right here, right? This is the name and this is the email. So basically inside this function, we are going to make a post request on the API. So here I'm going to paste that. As you can see, it's basically make a await fetch into the API / send email. We don't yet create this route, and the method is post, and it's basically sending the body and name and the email, right? So, and don't forget to make sure the set loading is back to false after we make a post request in here, and just make sure I put alert, and let's just send something like email send. So now let's try to create this /API /send email API /send email /row.ts. Here we go. So in here, I'm going to export async function called post because we are going to handle the post request. We grab the request in here, and inside that we run the try and catch. So on the try, we can grab the name and email because we're sending that as a body right here. So we can grabbing that in here, right? Body await request.json, and we can grab the email and also the name. So let's try to validate that really simple in here. If the email doesn't exist or the name doesn't exist, I'm going to return next response.json error missing email or name. So finally down here we can just run return next response.json success to true. Or if you want to see the value of the email and name, you can just put the email and name in here like this. So now let's try to make a post request. So let's try to click send email, and as you can see, this is basically make a post request right on this URL. And we have everything okay, and in here on the response we have the name and we have the email. And of course, if something wrong happened on the catch, I'm going to handle that. As you can see here, I just console log the error, and we can grab the error in this catch basically like that. We just console the error and then make a next response.json this error right here, and the status is 500. So now let's go back to the React email and go to manual setup. And basically what we need to install is this add react-email / component. So I'm going to copy this and then just paste that to the terminal and then just run it. So now let's go back to the documentation, and as you can see, now we can write an email template. But I like to use the Tailwind CSS. So that's why here I'm going to looking for Tailwind. This one right here, as you can see, we have Tailwind. I'm going to click that, and as you can see, we have to install this package right here, React email / component, and then we need to install the React email / Tailwind. So now let's try to run that command, and let's take a look at the Tailwind demo in here. I'm going to click that button, and here we go, right? This is the example, right? I'm going to write email folder, and I'm going to create a file called welcome-email.tsx. Here we go. So in here, I'm going to generate the React component and give a name welcome email like this. So now let's try to write the email. Here, I'm going to go back, and as you can see, I just want to follow all of these example here. So first we need to render the HTML tag, right? So let's just remove this div, and I'm going to use HTML come from the React email / component, and inside that we have the head, right? So let's just render the head come from the component itself. Here we go. And then it should be self-closing tag. And then inside that we have the Tailwind. Tailwind, it should be wrapping the body, right? Great. So here I'm going to do Tailwind like this. It should be wrapping the body. So here inside the Tailwind, we need to put the preset. I'm going to put that config. Here we go. Pixel based preset should become from the React email component again. And inside the body, we can put anything we want. So here I just want to copy this class name on the body. So I think it's fine. And also inside that we need to put the, I believe should be preview, and also the container. So for the preview, I'm going to paste this thing right here. Welcome to our app. The preview to become from the same component, and under that I'm going to put like a heading and stuff like that. So let's try to just copy and paste from the final project. Here we go. As you can see here, we have the heading, right? The heading and then the tags, really simple basically, and the button, and also, yeah, that's it. So the name is basically, you can send any props you want, for example, name. So here on this component, I'm going to grab the name props. So let's do that, name. And then here I'm going to put the props type, so equals to props, and then let's say name to string. Right, this is just really simple because we just have one props. But again, you always put any props in here, like this example. As you can see, that's a lot of props in here, like a username, user image, invite by username, and etc. That's a lot of props in here, and yep, that also works. As you can see on this example, we have this container. So let's just take a look here. This is the container right here that have this border. If you like to using that, of course, you just need to copy and paste the styling here on the container. I'm going to copy all of that, right? Just copy that. And I'm going to put that class name and just paste that class name like this. And now let's put all of that inside the container. So the question is how we can send this welcome email here into the Gmail, for example. So we can use a resend package. If you go to React email and scroll down a little bit, as you can see here, the integration, you can integration this React email with resend, inbound, and note mailer, and etc. There's a lot of options. So I'm going to use the resend in here. I'm going to click that. And as you can see, we need to install that package. So I'm going to copy that, go back to the terminal, and then just running that command. So now let's take a look how we can running that here. After we create the email, we need to send the email, right? The way we send the email is pretty simple. We can use await, resend email, send. We can say from, to, subject, and then the React component. Simple as that. So let's go back to the app and then API and then row.ts right here. And we're going to do that in here. So let's try to just copy and paste all of this, right? The await resend right here, I'm going to copy and paste that in here. So as you can see, the resend, it should become from the package resend here dot emails. We get an error here. So the reason we get this error is because we don't yet running the initialize right here resend that equals to new resend. So I'm going to copy that and then go to the on the top right here and just running, right? And this basically the API key, the Resend API key, that you can find it when you log into the Resend right here. So I'm going to try to log in. So after you log in, on the right side, you have the API keys and tab in here. You can just click that and create new API key. And you can just give any name you want, like Next.js demo. Let me just say email demo. And the permission, you can do that full access or just sending access. You can just hover this to see what is that. And for the domain, I'm going to say all domain, click add. And in here, you will get your API key. I'm going to copy that and click done. And here, I'm going to create .env file, .env, and then paste that value. Right, so this one right here. So basically, I'm going to create two environment variables. So I'm going to paste that in here. The first is the Resend API key, which is this one here. I'm going to copy and paste that. And also another thing is the email from. And I'm going to say Next.js app. And this basically onboarding at resend.dev, because we're working on the development mode. You have to put this as a email from. Nice. So now what we have to do is just try to change this value. So we have to change that into the process.env.resend API key. Nice. So now the resend here, it should become from that variable. Here we go. There's no error. And then this React, we can send the component that we already create, which is the welcome email. So here I'm going to copy and paste that in here. So as you can see, we cannot import the welcome email on this React object value. I'm not sure what happened. So I think because we cannot put the component in here. So let's try to do another way. So here I'm going to create a variable called email element, and then set equals to React, and then dot create element, right? Welcome email component. And then I'm going to send name prop set equals to name, because we have same value. I just want to remove that just like this. So now here, instead of React, I'm going to send HTML, right? HTML, and then here, I'm going to create a variable called HTML, so equals to await for the render, right? The render is should be function come from the React email slash component. And then I'm going to put the email element in here, just like this. And now we can send the HTML into the HTML key object inside the send function in here. So for the from, I'm going to use a value from this email from. So that's why I'm going to paste that in here. And also for the to, I'm going to put the email, right? The email come from the body, this one right here. So let's change that. And also for the subject, I'm going to say welcome to my app or whatever you want. I think we're done. So let's try. And now let's try to send an email. So my name, for example, I'm going to say John. And the email, let's do my email. Click send email. It's sending right here. And as you can see, we have alert, email send. Okay, here as you can see, we have the respond. So as you can see here, we have email from the onboarding at resend.dev, and it's basically welcome to my app. We have hello John. This email is sent using Next.js, React email, and resend. This is the website. It works basically super nice. So let's go back to the road.ts, and I just want to change this return next response into the success to true. Just that's it. So we can close the road, we can close the env variable. So I'm going to show you how to, for example, using another template email. So let's go back to the React email, this one right here. And as you can see, there is a welcome tab in here, and let's take a look, right? So for example, you want to use this Koala welcome, right? This UI template in here. So the way we're using that is pretty simple. Here, you can just see the code, you just copy that, and then just paste that, right? Just paste that like this. And as you can see, we have these process.env.versal.url. You have to adding the URL value in here. The Versal URL is demo.react.email if you want to use this template. And for the Tailwind config, we don't need that. I'm going to remove it. And for this config in here, we are going to send the preset. So I want to put an object, and let's say preset. And what we have to send in here is the pixel bash preset, just like this. And after that, as you can see, this Koala welcome email take a user first name. So we have to copy the name and then go back in here, change this component to welcome or Koala welcome email. And then as you can see, we need to send the user first name set equals to name, for example. We can try here. I'm going to go back into the project, and here I'm going to change the name into my name, and then let's try to click send email. As you can see, email sent, everything is look nice, the success is true. Now let's see on my Gmail. So as you can see, this is my Gmail inbox. We have the welcome to my app, and all of this is generated from the template, right, that we already copy and paste. So how simple is that? And of course, you can always change any component here to whatever you like to create. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope this is helpful, and see you on the next one.